I was trying to tee up like a fancy, like a clever.
I knew what you were doing.
Right.
I know what you're doing.
Who else did you do mushrooms with? Will Forte?
Will Forte is one of the biggest fucking pussies in the world. He would never do drugs. He would never do it.
If he were here and Jason Sudeikis were here, they would both fucking kick your ass or be mad.
Let's bring out Jason Sudeikis and Will Forte. Hey, Will, I'm sorry about the whole pussy remark thing, man.
That's all right.
Okay, I feel bad about that.
He didn't know you were here.
You look a lot tougher now, Will, with the shaved head thing. You look much more like you might kick my ass for real.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That's half the battle. Just looking like it.
Yeah.
Is this the? Are you still shooting Last Man on Earth this season's Last Man on Earths?
No, we finished a couple months ago, so we start writing on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow.
And so you actually sit in the writer's room like full services, but you can't. At a certain point, there's overlap, right? You can't.
There's overlap. So then at that point we do the acting all day, and then I got to write at nights and on weekends.
That's not true.
Come on.
No. I don't mean that to be like you're lazy. Literally. Acting in a scene. I'm acting in a scene with them, and then it's like, okay, cut. We're gonna turn around. I go this way because our chairs and the food's like over this way. Will goes this way, and then there's a laptop open and like works on it like on the laptop the whole time. Because I was like, yeah, I'll do the show. Like like it'll be fun to like hang out with you and act with you. And it was like we only got to pretend to hang out. I mean, we got paid. But then you left, and then you went to go do his other job. Like literally during the day.
That's pretty remarkable.
I work very hard. I'm a very hard worker.
It's incredible. He really is.
Are you writing? Will, are you writing that episode? Or are you writing future episodes? Are you freestyling as
he's rewriting episodes that have already aired? He's nuts. He's nuts.
Yeah, but also different shows. He's doing 227 episodes.
Oh my God. Improving them though. All of them better. Jack A has never been sassier. Is this alcohol?
Yeah. Where's
that coming from?
Do you want to drink?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That one. No, that's all right.
Who's running Last Man on Earth?
It's Andy Bobrow and who you know very
Community.
well, and Eric Durbin now is coming in to co-show run. So
okay, because Bob Rowe, you finally figured out he's a fucking.
He's the worst. He's not good. No, he's fantastic.
I love him so much. I was talking to Monica Padrick, an old community writer. We were at the hotel having brunch, and we were just everybody's scattered to the 85 wins now. There's a community person everywhere because we did 6 seasons, and I'm sure some of them are like, I'm sure they all hate me, but I'm sure also some of them. What I like I'm nostalgic about just like the family of it all. Like you in each season, it's like, oh man, season 3 was great. We had so and so and such, and then I was looking at the Yahoo season and even thinking, I don't know what I'm explaining to you. It's just like
just that it's the expanse of it after it all sort of. It's the same way at SNL or like even when I watch TV and I bore Olivia with like, oh, I did Second City with that guy in that commercial. It's like when it's like us. I would say like even me, you, and Jeff, we've known each other for 20 plus years. That idea of like.
I guess that's the feeling of family, like well, that's why grandparents are like, it'd be nice to hear from you once in a while because they're like they only run 2 shows in their life for like 30 seasons each, as like a mother and a grandmother,
60 minutes
and then they're
Jeopardy.
like, nice to see you.
How did you guys meet the first time then? The 3 of you?
Comedy Sports in Kansas City. Actually,
there was because Dan was Milwaukee Comedy Sports, Jason was Kansas City, I was L.A., and Rob is obviously Milwaukee, and we met.
Obviously. Look at me.
Look
at how Milwaukee is.
You weren't at that tournament, I don't think. Were you at Kansas City?
I don't think I was invited.
There was a Kansas City tournament. You were probably invited.
I was probably invited.
Everyone's allowed to go.
Everybody's allowed to go.
But like.
You guys became an 80s mattress commercial for a second. Serta, Springer, a galaxy of savings.
But like Jason, you were in a group with our friend Jeremy Carter, who's in Super Ego. Like, we all, like every not every city, but a lot of the cities in comedy sports, when we went to a tournament, there were kind of the younger crew that we all kind of circled around each other and became friends, and we all like have remained friends. It's really crazy.
We all were kind of annoyed at our bosses. I mean, bless all their hearts, but but I remember there's always that thing.
Name names.
James Bailey, Clancy Hathaway, and Dick Chudnow.
Yeah.
Like, I know all their names. I remember their names. Teenage anger doesn't go away that quick. They're still making money off it.
We would all just like talk shit about our kind of bosses.
What kind of shit?
Well, they were just never doing anything right in our minds.
Yeah, the bosses.
We were 22 and we were like we were so funny and like oh, so and so is paying us $20 a show, doesn't give us gas money, and like doesn't he know how to run a thing? And they didn't.
They were great. We wouldn't have all met each other.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have met the friends. I mean, tough to be the boss.
I wouldn't have got on Whose Line if I didn't do 10 years of short form improv. Like that was a school for that.
Yeah.
But we all eventually said fuck this shit and like moved on.
Yeah. And I'm not an actor, but of course, as a writer and producer, Comedy Sports gave me all my people skills. It helps you when you're dealing with the network. I would have been a real bad apple in their eyes if I hadn't learned to say yes and to every fucking idiot. They still don't like me. But what's that? Well, I don't know. So let's talk about writer actor hybrids. Because you're talking about, I just don't even, I mean, I really want to get my head around that because I'm having pings of insane jealousy there with the idea of you being on set, having sold a show, created it, developed it, and now you're on the set and you're still running over to the laptop like I've got such a man crush on you for that, and just because I
told you this would be fun.
I mean, what are you really?
I didn't know that I would meet somebody.
In the scene that he's describing, are you? Is what's on the laptop like scenes that are about to shoot that week, or is it like a next episode?
No, we will. Every once in a while, you'll get into a case where you're writing stuff for stuff that week, but usually it's jamming out the stuff that's coming the following week. I mean, ideally, you're to a place where you get this stuff all settled before you're even shooting. Cause
ideally, yeah.
I hate, but it does not happen all the time.
Every year. It's like the first day of school. You're like, here's my math notebook and my trapper keeper, and the unicorn's going to hold the pencils, and here's my 3 shirts I'm going to wear, and then 2 days later, it's bubblegum unfolding like with the thing, and like
I have so many Doogie Howser journals, like either in real writing, they're just like 5 strong days, and then I forget it and go on a trip, and it's like, well, I'll never fuck that. I had the one that was like, it was like a little tiny one like this. Was like write something for 5 years. I got it as a Christmas gift, so New Year's. All right, great. Literally went 2 days, went on a trip, and now it's done. And I won't. It's like I won't even pick up on it because it's like, no, if I can't do the 5 years straight, I'm only 5 months into it, 6 months into it. I'm like, no, it's dead to me. Sorry, blew it. You squandered potential.
When you got from, I was with you I was there in Las Vegas the night we happened to be in Las Vegas. You were in Second City, Las Vegas. You had been bumped up to the minors from Comedy Sports 2. Like you were doing like there was like 30 people in the audience in this club in Las Vegas, and it was a funny improv show, and but you were kind of beaming and trying to keep your Don Draper vibe, because you're such a hipster, but then quickly we were told that like the scout from SNL had been there that week or maybe that day.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember the exact timeline, but I mean that's where
it was the night that it was like official. I think that you were going to be on SNL.
Oh wow, that would then that would have been. Had I already auditioned for it? Do you remember?
I think they just came and scouted you. I don't know if you had auditioned.
The only thing that scouted.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you got the audition. But
it was a manager. It was a manager that saw myself and Kay Cannon, who I was in the cast with, and then a guy named Seamus McCarthy, and that manager picked us all up, and then the guys made tapes because they were looking for guys, I think, or at least I made a tape. I just filmed the show basically and then sent it in. And so I knew maybe I was gonna get to go audition. I would assume maybe at that point,
but they offered you a deal, as I recall, that had been there was a template for it in the past. It was like,
getting hired as a writer.
Yeah.
So I went to go audition for the show and then didn't get it. But they liked me, and then I got like a week later. They were like, "Hey, why don't you come out again?" And this is when you meet Lorne Michaels, and it's sort of like he's just making sure you're not crazy, or like I think he said like he wants to make sure you're someone that if you walk by in the hallway at 2 a.m. he wouldn't be scared or worried. Which is like it makes sense. It's his gig.
What do you think started that rule?
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you think made that happen?
Either it was someone or else it was a part of him that he didn't want to deal with. You know what I mean? I mean,
Come on, it was Tim Meadows.
It was Tim Meadows. He's just a loose cannon. I was going to say loose gun, hot cannon. Oh my God. But we, So then you go out there, and then I got hired as a writer, which I was a little bit like, I was like, oh, nuts, which is ridiculous. But I didn't send in a packet. I had imposter syndrome, all that stuff. Once getting it, and then you just kind of like. Just say yes and then hope to God it all works out.
And it paid off.
You kind of knew that they were kind of grooming you a bit for being in the cast, right?
Yeah, and that was what you were talking about. At that point, there was like Tina had done it, and David Spade had done it, and Sandler had done it, and like even back in the day, Chevy did it kind of to a degree. Who else? There's like everybody.
Rob Schneider.
Yeah, everybody that had done it in the past. That been a writer and was a cast member. Had all made that you sort of knew who they were.
Well, they never tell you about Gorby Phillips.
Yeah, never. Yeah, Gorby doesn't get his love.
He's the guy who wanted to be an actor. They gave him a job as a writer, and he's still there.
Oh,
his office is in the basement.
Horrible writer, hilarious in the room.
Yeah,
hilarious in the room. You love him in the room. You love him in there. It just keeps people laughing.
I remember Jason, like after the first season or two of when you were in the cast, you would come back to LA and we'd go have a drink, and you just look like you would just sit down and just dump like how difficult that job was. Like it was. Yeah. It seemed like it was like. But
always making sure he was very thankful and said everyone was very wonderful. Jeff, it's like Israel over there.
By design.
But like also like our friend Andy Samberg like every time I saw him he seemed to have aged about 10 years.
Oh, it's like the presidency in that way. Yeah, it's like until you sort of like develop like a niche. I think, or I would like with this guy to my left, like such an original sort of voice that Lorne's like, oh, this is a variety show. I need to have what Will does on there, or like the Lonely Island guys. I need to have the Lonely Island generation. Like Kristen. I need to have a Kristen track on this Greatest Hits.
Right.
I
talked to somebody about how Laura has always been. That's always been his real secret underneath it all. I think because it was back when Channel 101 was starting to be a thing, and the Lonely Island guys were doing Channel 101, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, they're taking that different path, that Schiller real Mr. Bill path to SNL, which is somebody was talking to me about it. They said, oh no, but Lorne's a genius, like about that in particular. That he always recognized that the potential obsolescence of what he was doing there, and how any one of these random asteroids or geniuses he had this way of like he would beckon you in and say, look, I know what you want and I know what you deserve, and I'm going to set you up so that you can have it. So the Lonely Island were getting their card that said it's an SNL digital short, like that's their property. Right. He knew that about Smigel. He understood that that you can't create an army of generals. You have to like give them you have to let them have the illusion that they have their own world.
No, it's true. I would say that he is good at that. You have to earn that though.
How far into Will and Jason, like how far along when you were a cast member was it when you found like, okay, this is my niche, this is my thing? Like did that take a while, or because I remember like at one point you guys were just my favorite. Like that cast was really good, and you two together especially. Because I went to one of the tapings. And you guys doing that, your mustached ESPN 3 kind of characters, fucking hilarious. But like, did it take a while to find your stride and find like when you go, okay, this is my shit, like this is what I do?
It depends for everybody, because I would always kind of do weirder stuff, and it's hard to get that stuff on. So you have to kind of build up this trust, and I was.
It would kill on Wednesdays. P.S. Like the read through, it was like every time like you see, because at the top of every script it's the writers' names. So like you'd see like Faye and Poehler, or like if it said Forte, you were just kind of like. Even if you'd been there 5 hours, you're like, all right, here we go. It's the truth. It's the truth. And especially when you were writing with Slovin and Allen, like there was this ironing, sharpening iron thing that was brewing there that I don't think really kicked in, to Jeff's question, like until maybe our group came in, because I felt like just watching it from the outside, your stuff started to get that play like after you stopped playing Bush. Really?
Oh, for sure. I was, it was an honor to play Bush, but it was an honor I did not want. It was,
and then I ended up playing it.
Will Ferrell had just done it.
It's like, what are we doing?
It was, to me, it's like Dana Carvey doing the church lady. Like Bush, Will Ferrell had turned Bush into a character that was so...
Flat out won him the election. Ruined our country for 8 years by his talent, his charm.
You can't have, Dana Carvey would not leave and then somebody else come in and do the church lady.
Right.
So, but you have to do the president.
Right.
So I, somehow became that guy, and I was shitty at it.
That's not true. At the beginning, when he was all whiny, like you were great at it because you were like, oh man, and he was like.
It certainly was
changed.
not. It was not the kind of stuff I like to do, and it was a fun adventure, but like the cast was so big at the time that like a lot of times I would be putting out the kind of stuff that I liked,
right.
but you got to service everybody, so I would
get
these
sketch
Bush
in 5
things
minutes.
that were in there that it weren't necessarily my thing, and that would be the thing for that episode. So like for a couple of years, I was just kind of the Bush guy and didn't really get to do.
But there was also this. I don't remember who told me about this, but then I started looking for it. That in those years there was Closer to Midnight. It was like, okay, these. Like I always tried to figure out the formula with the last sketch on SNL. It was like sometimes it was clearly just the shittiest. Sometimes it was one that like I have no idea. You guys could tell me, and maybe for political reasons you wouldn't even be able to, or it would take too long, or there's no formula. But then somebody told me like watch the. But sometimes it's like. These like weird pieces of esoteric brilliance, these like just good quality sketches that were, and it was Forte's name that was like attached to that. That would go like, oh, there's you got to watch till midnight because there might be a Forte sketch coming because they're putting them there not because they don't believe in them, but because like the spelling
like
bee
hidden,
sketch.
like a hidden track.
Wasn't that
was what I was going to say was the episode where I felt like it all kicked in. That was Jack Black hosting the Christmas episode of what happened to be, oddly enough, my generation's first season. I was lucky to be there 2 years.
I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
So you had Jack Black kicking ass his second time hosting, singing an amazing King Kong opener. Then you have there was with Wig and I, the first two a-holes buying a Christmas tree. You had Christmas Time for the Jews, a amazing short film parody by Smigel. You had Spelling Bee with Forte, and then most importantly, I would say most iconically, Lazy Sunday. By Lonely Island.
That was all one night, really?
That was all one episode?
It gives me goosebumps.
Or was that one
about it.
season?
One episode. That was Christmas episode of 2000.
So that must be why I was watching it, because like my friends were like, oh my god, they had just gone up. I was at the party where Bill Hader was also alongside them, was like being sent up in a balloon to New York.
Absolutely,
like goodbye guys.
Sure,
and so I must have been watching that night, going, oh, this is the first, or maybe it was just because of the Lazy Sunday thing, because they had done stuff before that, and Lazy Sunday was kind of their whatever.
Yeah.
But the spelling bee thing, I just want to talk about for a second. The sketch, the spelling bee sketch. I'm sure if you just type it into YouTube, who knows, or something, you just find it. It's simply judges at a spelling bee saying, all right, your next word is, what's the next word?
Business.
And then the entire sketch from front to back is Will Forte incorrectly spelling business. And that's it. That's the whole sketch. He doesn't finish and then they go, oh, that's not quite right. Why don't you try a simpler word like cat? And then he does it 3 times, and then in the end he spells a really complicated word really well, and then you're done. The entire sketch is him failing to spell the word business, and it's not a short sketch. It's Conehead size. It's a proper size, a Hungry Man Jack sketch size, but the whole meal is him. It's just different letters.
Q. How many times do you say Q?
Were you doing numbers at one point, like adding numbers into it?
That was a hard one to get on because it was. I had done it at the Groundlings a bunch of times, but
killing it at the Groundlings.
Always would go very well at the Groundlings, but
you did it at SNL. It wouldn't get picked. You would do it at like Smigel would have you do Night of Too Many Stars. You'd play like Radio City Music Hall and do it. It would crush, and then they would put it at the table or wherever you guys were doing those, where he would ask you to do it at a benefit. It would crush, and he'd bring it back to like 17th floor, like 50 people watching. Everybody's just like, it's killing. But everybody's like, it's never going to get on. And it wasn't...
Well, I got to hand it... Like, Jack Black was the one who really pushed it forward because he is great. And he's such a champion of comedy and just really like... If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have gotten on. So
what's that
same
like
with
when you write... when you wrote a really weird sketch that was kind of esoteric and strange and you go into that read-through where everybody's... you got the... piles of paper, there's all the scripts that are just you're reading through everything. Do you have to get up and really perform that, like at the table? Like you really have to sell that to the room, right?
Oh yeah, I mean most of the time you're just sitting down. Every once in a while, if there's something with a little more action, you might stand up and do some of the stuff. But you do it pretty full out.
Here's something that maybe no one thinks. What does the writers' room look like when you're at SNL?
It's like an office. It's just like a conference room, like a vibe. It's almost like
a
the
big
Commons.
table. Everyone's sitting around it.
Big table.
On the outer wall is everybody.
Sitting around the table is all the cast, and depending on how many there are, like right now, there's probably not much elbow room. It got to a point when we were there that there was like a nice amount of room.
So the cast is around the table, and then there's
at the head of the table is Lorne and the host. And then cast, then around this side, like if you were looking down at 3 o'clock, is like Seth and one of the assistant directors, Janine, who times every sketch, one of the producers, Steve Higgins, somebody else. But then around the sides are like the department heads. All the writers are like at 9 o'clock behind here, like 4 rows deep. People are sometimes sleeping because they've been up since.
Okay, so this is a room where there's a table at the. You're describing this is a table read.
Table read. Yes.
What does what about just the room in which people are pitching sketches and?
It mostly happens in offices.
Yeah, it's like a
disparate?
normal office building with just a more open fart policy.
It looks like 30 Rock. I mean, it looks like like the TV show. I mean.
But when you're a writer and you, so are you sitting like when you think, are you sitting cross-legged on a carpeted floor with a sheaf of papers in front of you with notes scribbled on them, waiting your turn to pitch something?
Yes, on Mondays with the host. There's the host meeting, the pitch meeting. Everybody lines up, and we all sit in Lauren's office. Some people on chairs, like humans. Other people on the
Jason,
ground.
Have you told it too many times on too many shows? But your Snoop Dogg story would that be a pain to retell? Because I retell your Snoop Dogg story when you were a writer.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the no, I mean, I don't mind telling it. It's a good life philosophy.
It really is.
But yeah, we were on Tuesday nights. The host goes around, whoever it is, and they meet with the different writers. And it was actually, I think it was your office at the time. You were rooming with Tellerico, Rich Tellerico at that point. Yeah. And it was me and Rich Tellerico, and I think you might have maybe been in there. If not, pitching ideas to Snoop. I just love Rich's ideas so much that I always feel obligated to put him in here. He's tell Snoop just sitting there like this, and he's like, I have this idea where you play a dad, but you know that scene like at the dinner table when the kid mouth is off and he takes off the belt? You don't take off your belt. Your job is, you make a living as a beekeeper, so you slowly start to put on your beekeeper outfit to intimidate your kids. And I swear to God, Snoop's like, yeah, I like that. Yeah. I want this guy to be real scientifical about the bees. You know what I mean? Like I want him to know what's going on inside of a bee's mind. Literally, he's saying that. Other things, blah blah blah. We're playing music. Rich he's got these speakers in there, and he's blaring like Snoop Dogg hits, and he's like, "Yeah, see, I put a cover on every album because you gotta look backward before you look forward." Like he would just talk like this. He would just say, "Yeah, man." Like Urban Outfitters, I've always said, you just follow him around with a pad and pen, and be like, "We're making pillows, T-shirts. This is like this fucking guy." Unbelievable. And then at the end, Rich, and I was just observing this. Rich is really the point guard of this entire narrative. But Rich goes, Snoop, after the party on Saturday, we gotta kick it. And Snoop says, swear to God, for shizzle. He says, because this is at the height, for shizzle. And he goes, and then Rich, for whatever reason, goes, maybe we'll get a hoe. And Snoop just goes, why get only one hoe? Right? That he could have stopped there. He could have stopped there and let me draw my own conclusion. Then it's all sort of be like, what does he mean by that? But he don't. He goes on. He goes, don't put limits on your life. Again, you're kind of like, that's it. He can get up and leave now. Yeah. The Urban Outfitters person can close their moleskin and be like, okay, we got next week's shirt. We're good. Why get only one hoe? Why not get two or three? I'm sorry. Don't put limits on your life. And then he says, dream big, and you may never wake up. I don't know if he said it since. I don't know if he remembers saying it.
Did you run and write it down? Because
no, I've just told it so many, like a good joke. I've just told it so many times, like because
I remember you telling me that, and we're like, "That's your Leno story." I think you told it on Leno.
I told it on Conan, the first talk show I did.
You're like, "Oh, I have my Conan story."
Yeah. He's giving me this. Like I got this,
So what is this a sacrilegious question? You guys are writer. Does God exist? And would he like Jewish people?
I assume so.
I made the Israel comment earlier. Now I have to counterbalance that. I got to remember some anti-Christian shit.
It's out there.
That war is still happening, right? Jews versus Christians.
Yeah.
I don't want to get mixed up in that. You guys are both writers. You're both performers. Forte, you were in the...
I love this question.
Yeah, right?
You were in the...
Wait till he gets to the end of it. It's awesome.
You helped him write this one.
Yeah. Been working all day on this question.
We have a mutual friend, Jim Rash. You were in Groundlings with him, right? That was your class. Like he's a writer, director. He's an Oscar-winning writer and director. I think he is directing it. The actor, writer and actor. Writer actors are better actors than regular actors, and don't comment on that because I'm sure you have actor friends. But what I wanted to ask is like, what are you more? I don't know.
The question is, what are you more?
Do you think of yourself when you're standing on set as an actor, like, okay, I'm doing this acting job, but I'm a writer, or is it the other way around?
Well, I started off as a writer, so I think I'll always think of myself as more of a writer. At the end of my third year...
You wrote before you did Groundlings?
Yeah.
I did go through your...
I wasn't writing professionally.
We could go through your past for a second here because it's kind of interesting. I bothered to Wikipedia you when I heard you might be coming by, and the most notable thing first is your name is your given name is Orville Wilbert.
Orville Willis.
Orville Willis
Forte
the fourth.
Yes.
I've never met a fourth before.
I know it's
Are you making fun of his name?
No, I'm making fun of America. We've never had a fourth generation of anything here. Everything around you is 20 years old architecturally. That's made of rock. Like this is a flesh thing made of four strings of dude. That's European, man. That's heavy shit.
We got our episode title.
We have a titular moment. We have had our moment.
I will say there was when I first I wrote on sitcoms for a while. I wrote at Letterman, wrote at Third Rock from the Sun, 70s Show, then got the SNL job, and I definitely had more of a writer's mentality because I'd go in and when I would act my own stuff, I would the stuff that I had written, I would feel very confident. I'd know exactly what to do, and I would get into my head with, because I remember if I would write stuff and sitting back there as other people would do it and just going, hey,
okay,
do it the way I wanted it, and it'd be very, and so in my head as I was doing other people's things, I would just be thinking about how upset they were about the choices I was making. So at the end of the third season at SNL, over the summer, there was this really, the cast was very big. Lorne was thinking about making changes, and there's a date in July when you're supposed to be told whether your option is picked up. And they had
Independence Day.
Yeah.
No.
And they held off on picking up my option and it took an extension. And for like 6 weeks, I had to wait. And the final conversation I had with him was what he said, you are thinking too much like a writer. You need to own it a little more. And of course, I'm like, oh, fuck. This old man, he has no idea. And
I love this character.
But I come back, and the more I thought about it, he was absolutely right. I was just like, I would be too nervous about performing in other people's things. And so once he just, he gave me the best advice of all time, which was just to go in there and make the characters your own in other people's things. And
we'll just let her rip.
Yeah, exactly. And thank God he let me come back, and that really was like, knowing that I had almost been fired, it all felt like gravy, and then it was just like, okay, fuck it.
He's like, look, if these writers knew better than actors, they'd be actors. Like they're so smart, but they can't act. Like you come in, take their stuff, and take it to the end zone. Where and your experience had been as a writer.
I would sometimes get their stuff down to like the 25.
But Suds, you're probably a little more complicated, right? Because you're not quite as. I mean, he was a writer forever, and you were like you were an improviser, which is half and half already. You're like a golden doodle,
right?
But you're
also we call Jason Suds.
Yeah, P.S. Yeah, right.
But your passion was for performing originally.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they're saying to you, well, yeah, but you're a writer, right? And then putting you in the writers' room. So when you're in front of a camera or on a pink and seafoam poster with 3 starlets and then your face,
part of my face. They added some stuff to my face. Eyebrows. But I know what you mean.
When you're studding it up in front of the unblinking eye,
over the shoulder.
Your beard in the Mother's Day poster is really great.
Yeah,
it's really
it's like Drake density. It's like it's a healthy, earthy. My eyebrows, like when I look at it, I go, I wish.
I told you.
Who knows where I'd be if I looked like that?
It's like a little kid's hobo costume. There's stippling involved.
I texted Jason a picture of that poster. I said, please, I don't know what this movie's about, but please tell me that you're a high-priced male hustler.
Yeah.
And your eyebrows have their own beards. Like you're made of beards in that. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. When I saw it, I was just like, yeah, I mean, whatever.
That's so great.
So are you an actor that has used your extra ability to write to
I think so. I would say so. I do. I mean, there's such for me, like with acting, like not that anybody cares, but like since you're sort of asking about it, like of like the left brain, right brain. Like I think I'm envious of actors that can really just be in it. I feel like I can get there but my left brain's always working. The part of you that has to hit a mark, the part of you that has to like know where the light is and all that kind of stuff, especially like tracking shots, all that stuff I can handle really well. And I think that comes from like playing basketball as a kid, like running plays and stuff. Like it's like
so sports come back around to haunt me.
I mean, no, but I think it could have happened with like any sort of group mentality. I just didn't have like the group of kids that in my neighborhood they played sports. They didn't put on plays. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't mean that as a smart ass because I know there are neighborhoods like that, and I was lucky to meet those kind of kids in high school. But like, so I'm like always cognizant of like what is needed to happen to make it like at least not have to cut because of some physical malfunction.
That brings up an interesting question, Forte. When you're writing for yourself, and that means to a powerful degree you're blocking yourself. Like a director could come in and say, "No, I think you should be in the doorway." Sorry, I burped. It's gross. I think you should be in the doorway, and then you should do a somersault. And sometimes directors have great ideas, and sometimes they're just directors. That you first and foremost, if you're writing a scene.
It's how you respond to that sentence that says more about anything. You know what I mean?
I'm sure it was very visual, whatever's going on down there. But it doesn't tell a story at the end of the day.
In Rob's mind,
We need both. We need both.
Rob is drawing a storyboard of him killing you right now.
No, but so
Doing a bird's eye of taking a shit on his car.
do you? Oh God, I wish directors
Doing a
did bird's
shot
eyes.
list of peeing in your drink.
You said you have a specific brain. I mean, you're like you're this guy that's going like you're kind of like I want this joke to land, et cetera, et cetera. I won't repeat the process that you took us through. But then you're on a laptop, so you're writing that a character that's going to be played by you, and you. I guess the small part of my question is like, do you do things like mitigate your blocking in the scene? Do you go like, look, I don't want to do a bunch of complicated shit in this scene because I'm gonna start. I'm only going to be funny if I'm able to sit still and like remember my lines, or are you like, no, I need to occupy myself? Anything like that? Like, do you knowing yourself as a performer when you're writing, do you write specific things for yourself?
Certainly, you will write to your strengths, but every once in a while there will be things that bring you outside your comfort zone. If you get together with the writers and they all think it's a great idea, and you think, all right, let's fucking go for it. You know, it really is. But for the most part, you'll know the stuff you're good at and not very good at, and you kind of stick with the stuff you're good at.
I think all that stuff literally comes down to like trust of you know, like literally like where I'm gonna be. I'll be asked to do this. Like me staying in my head, I don't think is necessarily healthy. Like all the time, even though I feel connected more as a actor than a writer, the part of me that doesn't let me get out of my head is probably not giving the person directing me the majority of the time enough trust to just be out of my own head, to maybe have an assessment of it. But I don't in the middle of a scene. It's only like when looking at the sides or thinking about it. If they suggest something, I'll be like, oh no. So I think like with stuff, you would have stuff in your head in scenes that we would do, and then we would sort of talk about stuff, and maybe it would feel. You're always very accommodating. It's not like you're rigid and like I wrote it this way, so it has to be this way.
Oh yeah, and if there's ever a director that wants to try something that's different than what I was thinking, it's always somebody like Jason Wallner who knows his shit, and John Solomon, our best buddy, and these wonderful people who are super smart. And
you throw a bone to Rob Schraub for just for
get him in there next year.
Schraub, I'm sure is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've had what you've had, which is like you write something, you hear it a certain way in your head, and it would be great if they did it exactly that way. Sometimes it's right in the bubble where you're trying to figure out, do I just want to hear this the way it was in my head? Am I objectively hearing it like so I can decide actually, oh, that's funny.
No.
Then there's the getting past that. There's the someone please help me with this. And if a director can think of a better blocking, and sometimes like Heath Cullens on Great Minds will like I'll have a very basic thing in my head, and then he'll go, yeah, but what if the person was sitting behind the doorway and then you entered, so then we could all get it in one shot. Like all these different shaped brains and they all overlap and. I'm sure Rob's great at something. I
told you he wouldn't have fun.
I just remembered something that so we finished.
I think I need a table next time I'm on the show.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna do with that table?
Nothing, I guess.
Maybe you could use it to distant or fuck. Maybe you can use it to stutter and emotionally distance yourself from the people on stage.
It is so weird. We bring Spencer out first, and he sits in the corner, and we never talk to him.
I mean, and now you're bringing me out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was slowly. Hey,
fill the stage full of people who don't talk.
No,
it's our fault. You guys were all kicking in before we got out here.
It's all good. I just don't know anything about comedy or directing or those things you guys are talking about.
Right.
But
otherwise, you could be sure I'd be in there with barbs and jabs and bits.
Why don't we talk about barbs?
Oh, man.
You want to talk about barbs for a second?
Can we do a little barb corner?
Yeah, Barb Thomas. Jesus Christ.
Adrian Barbeau.
There we go.
Hey,
Barb's
Jason.
in there. Barb is in there. Barb